Hello and welcome to this special budget broadcast here at Money Control. I'm Stacey Pereira and we're barely a week away from when Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will take to the podium in Parliament and present her record 7th budget. Now, the Modi government is back in power and this time around, of course, they do not have that big majority they were hoping, and which is why there is that reliance on its NDA coalition partners. But could this then change the budget map that goes into being, and will the finance minister have to, be a more populist, or will she choose that fiscal prudence part? That's something that we're going to be discussing, and that's something that's been a question on everyone's mind, rather, on whether those poll promises are what are going to be delivered to the budget, or whether she'll be able to walk that tightrope on maintain fiscal prudence. Well, it is going to be a challenge, but let's try and understand why exactly that will be. Joining me for that is Shweta Punj, our policy editor at Money Control. Good afternoon, Shweta, and thanks for doing this for us and helping us understand what exactly we could expect from Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Now, the interim budget that was ahead of the elections, and we didn't see any kind of populist schemes or measures that were announced even then. Now you see the government back into power, and of course they've not got that majority they were hoping. But do you think that the finance minister could still stick to this fiscal glide path that she did say that she's going to retain those numbers even if they do come back to power? Do you think she's going to be able to do that?
Good afternoon, Stacey, and I believe you all in Bombay are enjoying wonderful rains. But here in Delhi, the political climate is also pretty hot, while our regular temperatures are also soaring high. So, very interesting question to begin with. I think that's the number one question that's on everyone's minds, that will the government continue with the path of fiscal consolidation? We have to remember that the interim budget was presented before the elections. So we did not, nobody was expecting the kind of numbers that have come in. The BJP was very confident of coming back with an absolute majority. Now that there are alliance partners on board, that changes the political compulsions of the BJP. There will be demands that are coming in from the TDP, from the other alliance partners, and how the ruling party, how the BJP manages those expectations is going to be very important. But even as they do that, will they deviate from the path of fiscal consolidation? Now, I'd just like to go back to what was said in the interim budget. Ms. Sitharaman had said that for FY 23-24, fiscal deficit is expected to be of 5.8%, which is lower than the earlier estimate of 5.9%. Now, from whatever we've picked up so far, the government has often reiterated that they will continue to remain on the path of fiscal consolidation and reduce fiscal deficit below 4.5% by 25-26 and to 5.1% in 24-25. So from our conversations with economists, with people in the government, the sense that we are getting is that the government will stick to this path of fiscal consolidation simply because it makes sense for the government to do so. This is the number that the rating agencies watch out for, and what the rating agencies say is very, very important for India. They have been working on cleaning up the way they present their accounts. There have been a lot of reforms that have been brought in the last few years in the way the budget is presented. More significantly, the off-budget borrowings have been brought into the budget book. So I think that's very, very crucial. So what we're understanding is that the government will stick to the path of fiscal consolidation, and what will help them do this is the RBI dividend of 2.11 lakh crore, which the RBI board decided to transfer to the government in the month of May. Now that's a huge number, a huge buffer, Stacey, that the government has got, right? So how they decide to spend this money is completely up to the government. But it's suddenly when they were working on a budget of 100 rupees, now you have 120 rupees. So that makes a huge difference, and that is going to help the government stick to the path of fiscal consolidation.
Right. In fact, one of those demands and what they could, like you were saying, we will have to wait and see where the government wants to spend that extra money that it has got from the dividends, also from the robust tax collections that have been happening, be it GST as well as the personal income tax. But can this money actually come in towards the social sector? If you look at what the 4 pillars were for in the interim budget, it did mention about, youth, about women, about farmers. Those are the ones that actually pretty much take benefit of these kind of welfare schemes, and that's where our social sector spending, in fact, in the last 5 years has experienced an annual growth of about 13% and stands somewhere close to 23 lakh crore rupees for FY23. That was a good 8.3% of our GDP. This is coming into various reports that have been put out. This one by the Indian Philanthropy Report by Dasra and Bain and Company, and they say that a social sector will continue to remain a focus area. But can the government actually continue these welfare programs? Is it something that is sustainable in the way that they're doing it?
Right, Stacey. So again, this government, this budget will see enhanced focus on schemes, on programs that will have a spillover effect on the grassroots economy. We have to remember that during COVID also, the government completely upped its spend on a whole host of schemes. There were schemes that were devised specifically to alleviate pain at that point. So very significantly, the free food grain scheme, currently around 80% of India's population is getting that. Now, the thing with schemes is that once you roll them out, you cannot roll them back. It's just bad politics. It might make for good economics, but it's always bad politics. So that will not happen. Also, one lesson that's emerged from the results of these elections is that there is pain in the rural economy, something that the government clearly ignored or did not realize the magnitude of, and that's come across very clearly. They've also realized that votes and the feel-good factor comes when the delivery of the schemes is good on ground. So what we can expect is that schemes like Pradhan Mantri Krishi Kalyan or Awas Yojana, these are very significant schemes with very significant impact. Awas Yojana gives you a home. Krishi Kalyan is transfers into your bank account. So all those cash transfers into your bank account, all those are very, very significant schemes. So we could see an increment in their outlay. The government could also increase spends on education. Now we have to remember that we have been talking about Viksit Bharat, but Viksit Bharat will only become Viksit if we are able to build if we are able to actually build a good education infrastructure. And at the moment, education spends have not really kept pace with the demand and the changing dynamics, and they clearly don't match with where we want to see ourselves. We want to be the third largest economy. We're competing with the developed world and so on. So one can expect initiatives around education getting a push, initiatives around renewable energy getting a push, and definitely the flagship schemes, including Manrega, will be an important factor. In fact, this could be this government's Aam Aadmi budget more than anything else. This is the budget where the government is likely to come forward and say that we are here for you. We are here for the common man. Whether it's tax breaks that we've been reporting about and you've been talking about them on your show as well, or it is giving incentives, or it's making the life of the common man better. This budget will try and address all of that. And remember, after these election results, there was major trolling happening all across social media against the finance minister. So I think somewhere that whole middle class jive is also hit the government, and it's and they're hoping to rectify that in this budget.
Right. I like the fact that you call it an Aam Aadmi budget, because I think what the Aam Aadmi really wants to hear, and what has become also the opposition's trump card, is this whole topic on employment and job creation. And that is my next question to you. What could we expect this budget to show differently? Of course, we did see how the PLI scheme did quite a good wonder for the manufacturing and and how it really propelled that. I'm seeing reports of something called an ELI scheme, or an employment linked incentive scheme, that could then push for job creation. What are you hearing on this? Is there something you can tell us more on ELI, if at all? That is some term that the government is also pondering on.
Right. Stacey, that's a story that Adrija Chatterjee broke from our team, and about the ELI scheme for specifically targeted towards the MSME sector. So PLI, Production Linked Incentive Scheme, was announced to encourage manufacturing in the country. But it has been targeted towards big business, big industries, because there's a big investment that's required to be able to qualify for that scheme. And the MSMEs have been feeling very left out because of that. Their whole complaint is that you have kept us out. The government has kept the MSME sector out, which is considered to be the backbone of the Indian economy, from this whole ecosystem that's coming up. To counter that, also to give some sort of a cushion to the MSME sector, because since the pandemic, the MSME sector is still struggling to make a comeback. We've seen the pandemic, then we've had the war. So geopolitically, the situation has not been very conducive. We've seen commodity prices go up. And most importantly, India to build its Make in India story has also raised tariffs and import duties and so on. And a lot of these a lot of these products that are imported into the country are very crucial in the making of the final product. Now, so the MSMEs are feeling a little cheated, if I could use that word, because they feel that they're not being able to compete fairly when it comes to building a world-class product at competitive prices. And one of the main reasons is the inverted duty structure that's been introduced over the last few years. So the government is trying to correct all of that. And one of the new schemes that they are considering, of course, we'll only know this is all, from conversations that are held off the record and so on, that the government will come out with an employment-linked incentive scheme, which will be targeted towards the MSMEs. And here, it will be linked to job creation instead of investment, because the whole idea is to create jobs. Now, jobs is a narrative that this government has not been able to capture as they had envisaged. We have to remember that 10 years ago, when Prime Minister Modi was making a pitch to come to power, he spoke about job creation, and a whole host of events have happened. And I think jobs is a story that India is still trying to understand, because you have the whole skilling cycle in there, you have the whole private investment cycle in there. So a lot of cycles are looped into it, right? So here, through this scheme, the government will try to spur job creation on ground, apart from the other things that the government is doing, apart from asking the private industry to set up and expand and so on. But this could be, this is being cited as one of the things that the government will look at, not only to pacify the MSMEs, but also to counter this whole jobless growth criticism that's always that's thrown against the government very often.
Right. Just an extension to that question, because we are talking about MSMEs. I wanted to understand, India in fact has about 63 million such registered enterprises, or that get called under MSME. What are they really hoping for? Of course, there were demands of relief in terms of a better tax structure, also better access to credit, because that's something that holds them back. Could we hear an extension of the credit guarantee scheme, or also the fact that some bit of leeway in terms of how GST is placed on the MSME sector? What are you getting to hear on ground?
Right, Stacey. So the MSME sector has a huge wish list, and what we're hearing is that there could be relaxation on the 40-day payment rule. But the MSMEs, when they're questioned about this, they often say that this is going to benefit big industry more than them. But when it comes to easier access to loans, that's a sore point with the MSME sector, and they have been making representations that there should be a separate bank dedicated towards lending to the MSME sector. That's one very significant thing. And then the scheme that I just spoke about, they feel that they can contribute better to the Make in India story if there's a specific scheme that's targeted towards them, which eases compliances, which gives them access to credit from the government, and helps them build an ecosystem here. So these are some of the things that the MSME sector is hoping that would come in with the budget. There could be an interest subvention scheme as well. But the ELI scheme that we just spoke about, Stacey, there's a strong likelihood of that happening.
Right. So we will look forward whether we do see that, announcement of an ELI scheme. But since we're talking about jobs, another very contentious issue of late has been that the Agnipath scheme or the Agniveers, and how we've seen the opposition also, lambast the government about it. It was introduced back in 2022, but it has been shrouded in controversy ever since. Could we see any modification in this Agnipath scheme, and if at all, what will be the financial implications? Because that is something also, it does, impact jobs in a way. It also goes on to impact the kind of outlay that we have towards defense. So any kind of modifications that we could see in this upcoming full budget?
Right, Stacey. So, and I was saying that this has been a contentious scheme for this government. Not only for the fact that it actually did contribute substantially in the election performance, specifically from states like Uttar Pradesh, but also its alliance partners are putting pressure on the government to take back the scheme. Now, for the government to take back the scheme will be a huge step down, because this is a scheme that has been touted as a fiscal reform. Having said that, the armed forces and a lot of people involved in the armed forces, including the armed army, is not happy about the scheme. So they will have to come up with a middle ground for this scheme. Of course, we cannot speculate really what will happen, but we do know that this has been cited as one of the challenges for the government in the whole budget making exercise. And are they able to come to a compromised formula? Will they continue with the scheme in its current form, or will they just put it on the back burner? We'll have to wait till the 23rd of July, Stacey, for that.
Right, absolutely. A lot of questions there, but also a lot of clarity on what we could expect, especially if it comes to the MSME sector. What are they looking for when it comes to jobs, and whether that will continue to be a focus and a priority for the government, and also the whole lot of schemes and subsidies that the government puts out. Can they actually go on to continue and maintain that in a long run, is something that we'll all be looking forward to. But thanks so much, Shweta Punj, there, for giving us your time, helping us understand what really we can expect in terms of policy changes in this upcoming budget. But of course, for all your other budget related queries, come back right here to moneycontrol.com, because we've got the answers at least to most of them. And on 23rd of July, you're going to hear the finance minister right here at moneycontrol.com. For all our viewers who've tuned in, thanks so much for watching.